I've been messing with this team for decades.
And the Knicks lose another one.
Why am I not surprised that my next guest would do this to me? He executive produces a movie. He's starring on Disney Plus. The movie Soul is big time. You can't miss it. Lord knows what else he's got up his sleeve. He's filming multiple movies, for crying out loud. An Academy Award winner, a comedian extraordinaire, an actor extraordinaire, one of the greatest talents that Hollywood has ever seen, the one and only Jamie Foxx. What's up, man? How are you, man? How's everything?
First of all, just be clear that I'm working on the Stephen A. Smith biopic as we speak. That's what's going on right now.
Oh, please don't do that to me. Please don't do that to me.
Hey, listen. First of all, let's be clear. The suit is ridiculous right now. Absolutely no notes. I see the check is cashed. It's a new tax bracket, and you done dropped a little. I see you. You done dropped a little weight. You on your Peloton. I see what's going on.
Listen, man.
I see what's going on.
Congratulations with everything that you're doing. But before I even get into that, I got to ask this question. How in God's name you going to do a movie for Disney Plus and find a way to bring the Knicks in there? Why would you do that to me? Why would you do that?
You know what? You know what, Stephen A? We had to get you a little bit because my Dallas Cowboys, man. My Dallas Cowboys. So
Go ahead. Try to explain that one.
I just think it's a rite of passage. I just think that we had to get you back some kind of way, man, because you've been on our head for so long. So we just had to balance it out.
But since you brought it up, could you explain what happened to the Dallas Cowboys this year? Is it as simple as Dak Prescott getting injured, or is it just the latest in a long line of bad things that has happened with your Cowboys in the last quarter century?
First of all, make sure you say our name right. America's team, Dallas Cowboys. Just make sure you say that correctly. No matter how many wins, no matter how many losses, we are still America's team. I'll tell you what it is. At a certain point, we have to look into the mirror and realize where we really are. And that's, getting things to where we got to get people that we in positions that can hold their own. Stand a little more firm when it comes to establishment and really look at it and say, hey, this is what's going on with us. And like how I know Stephen A. is like your favorite team. I know what it is. We've always had a great running back. We've always had a great prolific quarterback with a great receiving core. And we've always had our defensive stamp, though. We've always been, if you go back to the doomsday defense and some of the guys that we've had even after that. So whenever a franchise gets away from its DNA, that's when we lose. And we're trying to do it with so many different things.
What
we got to get back to what we do.
What DNA? You've been losing for 25 years. What DNA?
Back-to-back Super Bowl champions DNA. That's what I'm talking about.
30 years ago, I had an afro. My hairline was 2 feet forward. What you talking about?
I can help you with the hairline. I got something to sprinkle it on there and make it right.
Jamie,
listen. All I know is that it runs deep. But I'll tell you one thing, Stephen A. You make it so fun and exciting. And when I know when we lose, I don't even like to answer my phone. I said, man, if I can't take it.
I'm looking for you. But listen, you talk about what I'm doing. Let's talk about what you're doing. First of all, Lord knows what you're doing right now. Talk to us about that. You did Soul. I pointed that out. What other projects do you have down the pipeline? Because you're always working. You're always doing big things. And not only are you acting now, you're executive producing. You got your own production company. Talk to us about all of those things you're doing, man.
To be honest with you, Stephen A., man, it's been a challenging year, but it's also been a good year. Me and my daughter got a chance to share the same network in Disney Plus. She had a movie called Safety out, and I had Soul come out. So my daughter's actually producing a television show that we created called Dad Stop Embarrassing Me, which is on Netflix. And that's basically my show. It's me as a father raising my daughter. It's our stories.
Wow.
And so we have that in the pipeline, and we just started this new production company called a Grandma's Hands Production, and that's where we have a deal over at Sony, a movie deal at Sony. We got a deal pending with Viacom. So basically we're blessed in the sense that we're able to now cook our own food. You know what I'm saying? We have a movie that we call tentatively called In Paris, which is like the Black Ocean's 11 that we'll be shooting here shortly. And then working on this movie right now on Netflix called They Clone Tyrone with a very, very talented young director called Joel Taylor. It's going to blow your mind, man. And so, like I said, in spite of all of the craziness that's been out there, we've been blessed, man. And so it's a good time.
For me, one of the things I want to pride myself on doing with this show is celebrating the greatness of other people and the things that they've been doing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about you, and I'm thinking about from the days of Living Color to movies like Booty Call to all of a sudden law-abiding citizen. The list goes on. Ali, the list, Ray, of course, where you won an Academy Award. I consider you probably the most talented dude in Hollywood when you consider how diverse you are. Your acting ability, your comedic genius, you can sing, for crying out loud. You're doing it all. What's next for you? I don't know about the ball. I don't know about the ball. You brought up the Knicks, not me. So I don't know if you have credibility there.
Stephen A., you set it up. You set it up. I'll back you down.
You'll back me down.
One-on-one for charity.
You'll back me down.
One-on-one for charity.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Can I get my knees right?
No,
Can I get my knees right
what
first?
we should do?
Can I get my knees right first?
No, what we should do, me and you should play somebody else. Me and you should team
I
up,
don't
play
know
somebody
if you
else.
can play. I don't know if you can play. I know you can do everything else. I don't know if you can play ball. I don't know that about you.
Stephen A., ask Kenny Smith about me. That's all I'm saying.
Kenny Smith is a nice guy. Kenny Smith is too nice. I don't know if he'd tell the truth about whether you could ball or not, because he loves you too. I don't know about that.
Hey, they know me in these streets.
There we go. There we go.
Stephen A.,
go ahead.
Listen. I've always done this. Coming from Terrell, Texas, small town right outside of Dallas, Texas, man. My grandmother was always pushing me to make sure that I was able to do anything I wanted to in the world. So therefore, the acting, the singing, the dancing, the writing, whatever that was, even sports, she was always on the forefront, man, making sure that I didn't limit myself. Coming from where I came from, she used to have me playing classical piano. I was like, what is this all about? She said, well, I want you to be able to go across the tracks and play across the tracks. I said, Granny, what does that mean? For white folks, she says, no, silly. The metaphoric tracks, the world tracks, meaning like your music can take you all over the world. And it's done that, man. So that's why I always pay homage to my grandmother, Estelle Marie Talley, and to my father, Mark Talley. They made sure that they cultured and they nurtured me. So by the time that I got to this point, I look at it like the cafeteria. That's where everything would happen in the cafeteria. That's where I do my shows and my shtick. Growing up, my teachers would give me like time at the end of the day on Friday to perform for the kids, and at that time, Johnny Carson was on. So I would watch Johnny Carson at night and take jokes from Johnny Carson and do it, for the kids, because I know they wasn't watching at that time, because my grandmother had me watching Johnny Carson. I don't know if that was good or bad idea, but it definitely came in. It came in handy. So I always give homage, and staying competitive. I think that also that athletic drive is why I stay competitive in this business.
Jamie, talk to me about what advice you would give to folks on the come up, or even folks that have already made it to some degree, but still have a long ways to go. You got NBA players, you got football players in their 20s and their 30s. They've got their whole lives ahead of them. Watching what has transpired over the last year, knowing life, the way that you do, what words of wisdom would you give folks in this day and time?
Well, first of all, Stephen A., I always have a lot of those guys at my house, man. They all come to my crib. All of these like young players, from whether it be LeBron, whether it be Trae Young, whether it be Corey Maggette, whether it be all these guys for the past 20 plus years have all come to my house. And what I always tell them is this: whatever it is that you dreamt about, do that better than anything and anybody. Work tirelessly on that, and everything else will come. A lot of guys and girls, when they do get into the business, they start chasing the other things, the fluff and the lights and everything like that, and get away from what their natural talent is. I always say, go back to the basics. Go back to what you do, and that will always sustain you. And then when it comes to the young, coming up actor or actress, wow, man, you got the internet. You got all of these different things that we didn't have when we was coming up. I mean, could you imagine if we had YouTube when we was coming up?
Absolutely.
So what I tell them all the time, I said, take full advantage of that, because there's really no excuse of you not getting whatever you do out. So whatever platform it is, you take advantage of that, man, and you show the world what you can do. And just don't be tired. don't let up on it. And like the movie Soul, like I said, finding your spark and everything like that was very, very, like spiritual, instrumental. But it really centers you in a sense when I watch that movie. So stay centered, man, and man, and just do the right thing.
Before I let you go, you might be playing Mike Tyson. You might be playing Mike Tyson in the movie. I ain't gonna ask you whether you can box or not because I'm quite sure you could do that. I see you looking a little buff, etc. But let me ask you a question. If you were imitating Mike Tyson, if you were playing Mike Tyson, could you give us just a little click about what we'd see? Could you give us Mike Tyson a little bit?
Mike Tyson, heavyweight boxing champion, world fourth. I just want to say, Stephen A. Smith, I just think you're absolutely amazing. It's amazing. Your vernacular. I love your vernacular. I really love your vernacular. Listen, Mike Tyson to me is so personal because almost 25 years ago, I was in a club and I was burning up the clubs in LA. And I went into my Mike Tyson joke and nobody laughed. You know why? Because Mike Tyson was in the audience.
Wow.
The whole place gets silent. And I'm like, what? They said, yo, Mike is in here. And I was like, oh. And there was a black girl in the front. She was going, what you gonna do, Jamie? You scared? You scared to tell your little joke? And this is when Mike was knocking people out for just smiling the wrong way.
That's right.
And so that night was pivotal because the dude yelled out, yo, Mike said do the joke. But that better be funny, right? So they're looking at him, and then they turn and start looking at me, and I do the joke. I get a standing ovation. And after that, Mike walks up to me and says, there he is. Come here, you crazy son of a gun. Come here. We're going to hang out. I want you to hang out with me. So I started hanging out with Mike Tyson. So now as we push forward, and we've watched Mike Tyson's life up and down, the goods, the bads, the uglies, and now we see him now as this lovable person that we can wrap our arms around. And so what we will do in this movie is we will capture the different side of Mike.
We'll all look for it, but when it comes to you, we look for anything you do because you're simply one of the greatest. My brother, love you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here. You know it.
First of all, that suit.
Absolutely.